Have you ever wondered how two people who initially feel they are the luckiest in the world to have found each other, a few years later become each other's greatest source of misery? How on earth do we manage to turn around such positive energy into something so destructive to our lives? In most Western countries, somewhere between a third and almost a half of marriages end in divorce, with couples who simply choose to live together even more likely to separate. And let's not forget the many more couples who stay together unhappily for all sorts of reasons, including financial, cultural, and religious. These facts are especially unsettling given the overwhelming evidence that the quality of our close relationships is one of the most influential factors in our well-being. So given this bleak prognosis when it comes to relationships, it seems utterly mad that we continue to hook up, convinced that for us it will be different. And yet we do. So in the spirit of the old adage, prevention is better than cure, let's try and understand what might be causing such dismal outcomes. A good place to start is that we have a very romanticized view when it comes to relationships, believing that this emotion of love will just carry us through anything. Consider common phrases we use all the time, such as love conquers all, love will find a way, love is all you need. And added to that, we don't much like the idea that relationships should require work, because apparently that's an indicator that we chose the wrong person or that the relationship has run its course. This is really quite a curious attitude, because in other areas of our lives, we're very willing and even eager to devote time and energy to things that we value, whether that's our career, parenting our children, learning a new skill, or even taking care of how we look. Yet in contrast, people seem to think that the relationships we have with our partners should just fall into place. And even more so, magically they should stay like that through the inevitable challenges of life. Well, how's that working for us? And not very well. So what if we considered a different, more creative way to view the work of relationships? Rather than seeing it as mundane work, what if we saw it as a craft that we learn and master, similar to artists who master their craft, whether that's dance, music, literature, or art? Artists often have a drive or passion for their craft, and that can be an important motivator, but they also recognize the need to develop their skill. Similarly, our relationships begin with a feeling of desire or passion, and that's what draws us to our partner initially. But eventually, our hormones will take a back seat, and then our love will actually require nourishment. And that is where the crafting comes in. So what could this look like? Well, in 10 minutes, I can't really take you through every possible situation that you might find yourself in as a couple. What I would like to do is just share some love crafting tools and mindsets that might help you create your own masterpiece, shall we say. The first groundbreaking idea is to ask yourself, what do I want? What's most important to me in a relationship? Like artists, you need a vision of what you want to create. It could focus on companionship, opening your life to new experiences and perspectives, or having a true confidant that you can share your innermost thoughts and feelings with. There's no right or wrong here. We all have different personalities and prioritize different things in life. But I would just like to share one bit of guidance. Be realistic. Remember that it is unlikely that one person can meet all your needs and desires. Do not put so much pressure on your relationship that it never has a chance of meeting your expectations. So, for example, I'm very grateful that my own partner is thoughtful, kind, sensitive, and he's generally chilled and easygoing. I love all these qualities in him. But throughout our relationship, at times I've also wished that he might have been a little bit more determined and strong-willed. It only took me a few years to realize that my frustration wasn't a problem with him, rather the issue was my delusion, expecting one person to have personality traits that are pretty much on opposite ends of the spectrum, which would make him something akin to a mythical unicorn. So first love crafting tip, reflect on what is important to you, but be realistic. Don't expect your partner to be your everything. That's what friends and family are also for. And unsurprisingly, research shows that partners who have, couples who have friends other than their partners tend to be the happiest. Okay, once you're clear on the sort of relationship you wish to create, there are two key elements to the craft. And these relate to the main ways that we express ourselves and interact with others throughout our lives. And most importantly, they are things we have influence and control over. What we think and what we do. Now, some of you may be thinking, duh, that's not much of an insight. But please stay with me and hopefully I can demonstrate the power of these tools. One of the patterns that I commonly see in couples is when one partner expects the other to react to situations in a similar way, prioritize the same things in life, and telepathically know what they are thinking or what they need. In essence, expecting their partner to be an extension of them. And when this surprisingly does not happen, they respond with judgment, wrath, or the good old silent treatment. Now, do you imagine that this combination of thoughts and actions is going to lead to a masterpiece of a relationship? Very unlikely. So let's imagine how this could look if you use your love crafting tools differently. When your partner does something that you don't much like, imagine that before you respond, you take a moment to remind yourself that they grew up in a different family, community, maybe even culture, and they have a different personality to you. These differences mean that it would be a little foolish to expect them to have the same preferences, priorities, and ways of doing things that you have. And you could even challenge yourself a little more and question how critical it is that you and your partner are completely aligned in the way that you see and do things. Does their different perspective have to mean that yours is wrong or invalid, or could they simply coexist? So while you may initially feel a bit frustrated, what if you responded with curiosity rather than criticism? You could ask them, hey, you know that point you made last night? I'd be really interested to hear a little more because it's quite different to the way I've thought about these things. This invites your partner to engage in a conversation without fearing judgment, which is most likely to make them feel defensive, our very normal response to a perceived attack. And if you sense that something is going on for your partner, but don't quite know how to initiate a calm conversation, my favorite, slightly cheesy question to gently pose is, tell me, would you like to be helped, heard, or hugged? So when it comes to conflict, remember this. Research makes it very clear that it is not how much we disagree as a couple. Conflict is 100% guaranteed. It is how we resolve and accept our differences that matters. And because of our well-proven negativity bias, it only takes a collection of poor interactions to start a spiral of resentment where you slowly stop seeing your partner as your genuine partner. And when that starts to happen, it's not so easy to reverse. Which brings me to one simple skill that you can nurture to help prevent this spiral. How about deliberately tuning your mind's antenna to notice your partner's positive qualities and actions? Every morning, wake up and instruct your mind to notice the things that you appreciate and delight in your partner. And then make it a habit to tell them. Ultimately, the point is that you have a choice about how you think about your partner, your expectations, where you focus your attention, and in turn how you behave and respond to them. That is where your power lies in crafting the relationship that you desire from the beginning. Having a partner as you journey through life is truly a precious gift. And so I invite you to treat it as such. And you have very powerful tools to help you, so use them wisely. First, be curious. Don't be so quick to judge and assume you know your partner's intentions, thoughts, and feelings. Approach conversations not as an interrogation, but rather as two explorers trying to make a new discovery together. Be deliberate. Don't simply go with the flow or react based on your initial triggers. Rather, take the time to reflect on what's going on for you and why, and how you can respond in a way that nourishes your relationship. And finally, be creative. Don't be constrained by conventional views on how a relationship should be, but rather accept that it will evolve as you move through different phases of life. My partner and I, for example, have been living on opposite sides of the world for a few years. And fortunately, the physical distance hasn't led to an emotional distance. This seems to surprise many people, and like many things in life, it's not always red roses, especially during a worldwide pandemic. But when we made the decision to live so far away from each other, we also chose to focus on what it has brought into our lives. Rich conversations that don't focus on the mundane daily routines of life, reunions in exotic places, and a heightened sense of passion and savoring when we are together. So recognize that each period of your life, that each period of your relationship will eventually evolve as your circumstances change, and in each phase actively look for and create those things that bring both of you joy. It's fairly certain that all our love stories will have drama, and many of the twists and turns that you will deal with may be unexpected. But remember that you and your partner are still the main crafters of your particular story. Unfortunately, many of us don't seem to realize this until the end, when we desperately seek help to save our relationship. How would it be if we mastered the art of love crafting so that our relationship never needed to be saved? Thank you.